Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Doll Coven. I'm Julie, and today I wanted to speak a little bit to a video that I finally got around to watching, and this is from Veronica the Witch. She posted a video titled "Is Doll Collecting a Disease?" I think. In any case, I will link that video in the description box. Please do check it out if you haven't already. It's very interesting. And of course, as I was watching it, conjured up some, personal opinions and reactions. And, I am a collector of dolls. I am also a collector of tarot and oracle decks. And so in that community, the topic of deck collecting has been one that comes up over and over again. And I have made my opinions very clear in that space. And so I think the opinions to doll collecting are going to be fairly similar, pretty similar to ones I've already expressed in the tarot space. So I have some notes here if you see me looking down occasionally so that I stay on track. And I'm not going to be going like point by point through Veronica's video or anything like that. It's really just my sharing my own kind of personal reflections and opinions, inspired by her video and the points that she made. First, can I please get something out of the way? I really hate the term kidult. Am I the only one? Now, if you embrace that term, you identify, then good on you, no tea, no shade. I personally am not a fan. I'm an adult, and the things that I like, my hobby of dolls, I don't consider that childish. I mean, some may describe that as childlike, but I think childish definitely elicits a kind of negative connotation, belittling connotation, and I do not find my hobby to be childish. And so I don't have any problems with uh, identifying myself as a collector. Again, to each their own, your mileage may vary, but I am totally fine with calling myself a collector. Collecting is so individual to the person. You can have someone who is perfectly happy with their collection of 20 dolls, and then someone else who's like perfectly happy with their collection of like 200 some dolls. But then somebody else would be completely overwhelmed with having that many dolls. So it's just really, once again, your mileage may vary. Is doll collecting a disease? I am not a licensed psychiatrist, a healthcare professional, so I don't know that I'm necessarily comfortable speaking to that question. I will say, and this is just my opinion, that when somebody starts collecting something, anything, doesn't have to be just dolls. This can extend to other hobbies as well. But it's going to be pretty par for course that you might go little bananas with acquiring said thing, because when we start a particular hobby, we're passionate about it, we want to just acquire all the things, try all the things. It is a process of finding what we like, finding our particular tastes, what works for us, what resonates with us. And then over time, we find that the spending will slow down. And we're able to better curate what we bring in and what we decide to not invest in, because we know better what our preferences are. And those preferences also will evolve and change over time. So they're just going to be, I think, natural ebbs and flows with how much we acquire in a certain space and time. And it becomes a problem when it starts to impact us negatively in some form of or fashion. So for instance, you might be feeling constant doll overwhelm, which is a legit thing. It's a legit feeling where you might look at your collection and instead of feeling just absolute joy and delight, you might feel kind of suffocated by the sheer number of dolls that you have and the fact that they have kind of encroached on your space and taken up a lot of your real estate. So that is a legit thing. Compulsive spending is also definitely a big thing where people aren't able to control their spending habits. And it starts to affect aspects of their life negatively. So, for instance, it'll affect their finances, where, bills aren't getting paid, debt is collecting. Hopefully it would not get to the point where mouths aren't being fed, because that's certainly a red flag. But where you're racking up more debt and you're feeling financial strain. Also, if the collecting and the amount that people are bringing in, if that's causing stress within their own personal relationships with other people, especially those that you share a home with, that's also something to keep in mind. That might be an indication that it is becoming a problem to assess. And then, of course, there's this other scenario of like, are you collecting at a rate where you have dolls that have gone unboxed in a heap, and then you turn around and you end up buying a doll that you already have that you forgot that you had because it hasn't been unboxed yet, and you just have all these other dolls just waiting there. And hey, it happens. It happens. Many people have done that. You are not alone. And the whole point is that we don't want to keep making that same mistake over and over, right? So these are just some possible red flags. Like I said, everyone is different, but just some possible scenarios that could indicate there are other underlying factors, driving the compulsive spending and the collecting. And if people aren't able to really assess and unpack those underlying motivations, then you can say to yourself, well, okay, I'm going to stop doll collecting. That's it, no more dolls. But that behavior and the compulsive actions are just going to transfer to something else in all likelihood. In Veronica's video, she describes a doll collector who had posted a comment on Reddit, I think, where they were describing how they were a part-time barista and they had started collecting Rainbow High dolls as a way to combat their depression. And it had gotten to the point where the hobby was no longer bringing them joy. If anything, it was bringing them stress and FOMO, and they had begun racking up a little debt, kind of barely paying some of the bills they had. And so there's an example where I think we're seeing maybe that there's some, again, underlying issues. It's not just this isolated topic of doll collecting and spending, but what's the driving force behind that? Now, to be clear, because this doll collector was talking about, using dolls as a way to soothe and combat the depression, I think that comfort shopping, a little bit of retail therapy, in my opinion, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's not inherently a bad thing. So many of us do it. And, are we engaging in that behavior and using it as a crutch to avoid some real issues that we don't want to necessarily deal with? So for my part, I have what I think is a modest doll collection. Some will think it's modest, others might find it quite large. Of course, like I said, it's subjective. but I have created some gentle guidelines for myself to help keep myself accountable and to help me make mindful choices about which dolls I'm bringing in. In this room, I have a shelf right here, which you can't see, but that is the allotted space that I have designated for my dolls. There's still some room there, so I can certainly add, but the whole idea is that I do not want my collection of dolls to go beyond the parameters of these shelves. I don't want them encroaching on other parts of my house, in other rooms. I want them all to be in one place where I can see them all and enjoy them all in one designated space. When I start to run out of space, which inevitably I probably will, then I'll have to reassess, right? Are there maybe some dolls that I'm no longer in love with that I might consider rehoming or selling? In the tarot community, a lot of the people who collect decks, they incorporate the one in, one out rule. So if they're bringing in a deck to their tarot library, they're going to, let another one go, rehome it, sell it, whatever. So that could be one kind of guideline that might be helpful. Or at the very least, just kind of revisit my collection, every so often to see, yeah, okay, are there dolls here that I'm just holding on to for not because I'm in love with them, but just because I kind of forget that they're there. And, maybe this is a doll that I can sell or rehome. And that could then make space for the dolls that I'm really excited about, that I've really given some thought to, and I know I want to add to my collection. In terms of possible FOMO, I mean, that is a legit real thing that you're not alone if you're experiencing that a lot, because that is exactly the sentiment, the feeling that companies take advantage of to get you to spend money on buying their dolls. So for my part, should I begin to feel that, it is my responsibility to figure out what's causing the FOMO. What are the sources that are igniting that FOMO in me? And then how do I curtail how much exposure I have to those sources? So whether that be YouTube channels that I'm watching that kind of, start to spark that FOMO, or Instagram accounts I'm following, whatever socials, newsletters that I might be signed up for, etc. I have to pinpoint the sources. And then I have to make the decision to, unsubscribe, unfollow, mute, or cut back, manage my email preferences, etc. In her video, Veronica made a fantastic point about switching the mindset over from acquiring the latest shiny new doll to enjoying and appreciating and playing with the dolls that we already have, which for me comes in the form of like just something as simple as changing their outfits, or getting them new accessories. To me, that makes all the difference. Another thing that I have done with both dolls and decks, I will find YouTube videos of people unboxing or sharing dolls that I already own. And their excitement reignites my excitement for that doll. Even if it's a customization video where the content creator is giving that doll a glow up, and yeah, I don't have the skills to do that, it still makes me excited about the fact that, like, oh, I have that doll too, and it's so cool what this person is doing to reimagine this doll. And it's a nice way to give attention to the dolls that we already own. Speaking of YouTube, Veronica had posed a question in her video about whether there should be disclaimers. I'm assuming she was talking about, like, in the context of, say, YouTube videos, or say I don't know, Instagram posts or reels where content creators are showing off new dolls or something like that. Should there be a disclaimer? In my opinion, no. It is not Veronica's job, nor is it the job or responsibility of any other content creator to be my babysitter. I am a grown adult with agency to make my own choices and my own decisions. It is not Veronica's responsibility. It is not her job. It is not the job of anybody else to hold my hand through my own personal issues. I have to take responsibility for my collection issues, my spending issues. And so I personally think no, it is on me and others who are acknowledging and identifying potential issues in their collecting or their spending. It is our jobs to click off that video. Don't click on it to begin with. Again, unsubscribe, mute for a while, just step away from the socials for a while if that is causing or exacerbating the compulsive spending, the compulsive collecting. And then 2 final points that I want to make. 1, I encourage people to lean into the idea of not assigning moral value to your doll collection or whatever collection, dolls, decks, shoes, whatever, doesn't matter. Whatever you collect, however much you collect, that is not a moral testament of you as a person. And I think a lot of people get kind of mired up in that line of thinking. And so I encourage people to not ascribe a moral value to your collection. And then secondly, a gentle reminder that it is no one's business how much you spend on what and how often. I think that with the rise of social media, people are becoming way more judgmental and also feeling way more entitled to knowing these details, especially from content creators. And nope, none of anyone's business. So as long as you are feeling, again, happy with your hobby, your collection, whatever you want to call it, you are just finding joy in your collection and you are not experiencing, some of the potential red flags that I've talked about in this video, then you're gold. And just enjoy. Life is too short. We just need to lean into enjoying what makes us happy. As long as we're not hurting anybody, then just keep on keeping on, and it's no one else's business what you do and what you spend your money on, how you spend your time. Okay, that's enough from me. I've blathered on for long enough. So anyway, I hope you got something out of this, and I would love to hear your thoughts. So leave a comment below, and until the next time, much love and take care.